When the lions attacked this bull, they hardly thought that the hunt would end with a flying lesson. But the bull turned out to be so cool that he launched the enemy into the sky with one blow. These herbivores refused to be submissive prey. The crocodile lies in wait for the victim at the watering hole, then suddenly jumps up from the murky water, scares the prey, grabs it with his teeth, and drags it to the bottom. Usually this plan is almost a win-win, but here the reptile clearly does not know who it is coming into contact with. Buffaloes get scared when huge jaws suddenly appear out of the water and dodge them. But not only do they not run away, but they immediately come back. The biggest bull doesn't like to be joked about like that. He waits for the crocodile to attack again, after which he throws the reptile back with a powerful blow. Never before has a crocodile felt such like a tennis ball. It is unlikely that he will attack such ungulates at least once more. But this crocodile was lucky. If he still grabs the buffalo, the ungulate will push him to dry land, where it will begin to trample him with its sharp hooves. For these herbivores, only the largest crocodiles can pose at least some kind of threat. Once a crocodile grabbed a buffalo by the leg and tried to drag it to the bottom. The bull pulled the crocodile onto dry land, after which they raised the reptile onto its horns with the whole family of buffaloes, trampled it, and then threw it back into the pond. This case was a miss for when the predator is real luck. The main feature of a wild bull is its bravery. If he notices a threat from afar, he will go on the attack himself and not give in to panic. Most herbivores, on the contrary, are very timid. A zebra or wildebeest is larger and stronger than a lioness. But a predatory cat easily pulls in even a group of animals to flight. The bull is another matter. Predators soon realize that they messed with him in vain. Such a hoofed animal surpasses a deer in ferocity, and at the same time knows how to fight wisely, using all its advantages by 100%. It seems that he is happy to fight with a predator that keeps the whole of Africa at bay. The weight of a wild buffalo can exceed half a ton, that is, twice or 3 times the size of a male lion and 5 times larger than a female. Therefore, hunting such a giant resembles storming a fortress. Lionesses surround the buffalo and try to overwhelm it or get to its vulnerable parts. What would you do in the event of such a siege? Would you panic? But the bull retains amazing composure and repels all attacks. He reacts with lightning speed and immediately turns in the direction of the impact. The buffalo acts even more aggressively than the lions. But this is not because of evil nature. It's just that an only aggressive and offensive is the only chance for this buffalo to survive. And he understands this. Lions are not very hardy, but due to the numerical advantage, they can attack in turn and exhaust the victim. They don't care when the bull falls down in 10 minutes or half an hour. Therefore, only a breakthrough of the environment can give the bull a chance to survive. And if he also injures one of the predators, he will be able to cool their ardor and force them to retreat. Carnivorous animals are brave, but if they meet a worthy rebuff, they most often leave the victim alone, because they have to spend less energy on hunting than the meat they can give to them. Otherwise, what's the point of attacking prey at all? Therefore, the bull sometimes starts chasing the lions himself just to keep them away. A male lion is much stronger than a female and can even cope with a buffalo one-on-one. But if the hoofed animal is experienced and brave, even 2 experienced males will not be able to cope with it. The buffalo seems to be playing with the enemy. It maneuvers, repels attacks, and does not allow itself to be driven into the ring. His main weapon is powerful curved horns. They have a very wide impact part that acts like a battering ram. And on the sides, there are sharp tips that can rip even a strong rhinoceros skin, not to mention a lion's. This male can weigh about 1/4 of a ton, but the bull easily throws him up to a height greater than human height. The lion is in shock, and for other predators, this is a great lesson. No one wants to experience something like that. Sometimes, in order to cope with even one bull, you need about a dozen lionesses. And even then, the herbivore has a chance to escape and fight back. However, the main advantage of the buffalo is its herd. It is bulls that most often come to the aid of their fellows when compared with other herbivores. Can you brag about friends who will attack angry lions for you? Buffaloes can also get scared and run away from the threat. But if they come back and come to the aid of the buffalo, which was surrounded by lions, this battle will look epic, like some kind of battle in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Bulls break through the environment to predators, attack them from the rear, in flanks, and literally scatter huge cats with powerful blows. And the family of ungulates reunites in a happy ending. Harsh Africa rarely sees happy endings, but this is just such a case. Or maybe you were rooting for the lions who were left without lunch and even with broken ribs. Answer in the comments. Sometimes bulls even drive their enemies into trees, and all to teach a lesson. It's better not to have anything to do with these ungulates. Probably the lioness will remember it well, don't you agree? There is even a rare record of a clash between two armies, a small pride of lions and a huge herd of bulls. The lions were clearly trying to cause panic in the herd in order to then repel the weakest buffaloes and deal with them. But it didn't work out. The herd untied and pushed the predators to the river. Now the lions have taken a circular defense, and the buffaloes scared them and chased them one by one. It's amazing how quickly predators and prey swiped places. As a result, the buffalo still did not throw the lions into the river and could not trample any of them. But the lions were literally a hair's breadth away from this and barely carried off their paws. The enmity of buffaloes and predators led to one unique episode when the bulls rescued an injured male. He invaded someone else's territory to capture him, but he was outnumbered. Two males who were masters of these lands defeated the alien. He fought back fiercely, but the enemy's fangs had already closed on his throat. When suddenly, the bulls intervened. They drove the lions away from their prey and saved the wounded male's life. Moreover, one of the buffaloes even slightly hit the wounded lion, as if telling him, "Don't relax, we don't like you. We just wanted to teach these two a lesson." After that, the ungulates left the wounded male alone and allowed him to leave in search of another place to live. Maybe someday we will see a lion fighting on the same side with bulls against hyenas. That would be cool. However, maybe these buffaloes have post-traumatic syndrome, and they can't watch lions strangle someone, even another lion. What do you think was the motivation of these bulls? Share your opinion in the comments. The largest and strongest land predators of the planet are bears. But even this beast has to run away in panic when it runs into a bison by mistake. These giants are close relatives of bulls. The bear thought that he could scare the herd and cause the ungulates to panic, then attack the laggard as wolves do. But the bear clearly overestimated his reputation. The bison were not impressed by him. The huge animals rushed together to attack the predator and drove it away. Probably the bear ran much longer than he was being chased, just in case. Not very brave, but smart, don't you agree? And if you want to learn more about bison, then write about it in the comments. If you think that buffaloes are cool only against smaller animals, then you are wrong. They don't mind fighting with stronger opponents either. If you are walking in Africa and accidentally met a rhinoceros that behaves peacefully and calmly, don't relax. He just doesn't see you yet. This animal has such poor eyesight that it notices another animal only at a distance of several feet. It scares him. It's like you're walking down the street when suddenly, out of nowhere, another person appears next to you. Pretty scary, right? The problem is that a scared rhino is an angry rhino. With a weight of up to 3 tons, he can afford to attack anyone. By the way, if you want to see the most epic battles with this animal, then let us know in the comments. It may seem that the buffalo and the rhinoceros are equal rivals, but this is not so. It's just that the buffalo is tall thanks to its long legs. The rhino is 5 times heavier and several times stronger, and yet the buffalo withstands his monstrous pressure for a few seconds and pushes the enemy himself. It's as if you could use your hands to stop and push away a motorcycle that is coming straight at you. Of course, the rhinoceros overcomes the bull after some time, but he obviously contacted the wrong opponent. Any ungulate would have already tried to run away. But this bull does not only get to his feet every time, but he also starts a counterattack. His relatives help him, distract the aggressive rhinoceros on themselves, attack from the flanks. As a result, a group of buffaloes manages to repel the attack of the rhinoceros, and although the main defender suffered serious internal injuries, he survived the crushing blows of the rhinoceros, which could have uprooted a tree. Pay attention, the bull's hide even withstood the stab blows of the horn. Is she bulletproof? Maybe scientists should look at its structure to create a new generation of Kevlar. Excess energy and aggression need to be put somewhere. In the wild, the bull needs to protect the herd. But in a city or village surrounded by people, you have to look for other ways to let off steam. To do this, the bull was given an empty passenger car to be torn to pieces. It's an amazing sight, because the animal lifts a piece of metal 3 times heavier than itself on its horns. The bull strikes powerful blows that leave dents the size of an adult's head. The bumper flies off, the parts break, the body bends. If there was still a chance to fix this car before meeting with the animal, then now it can simply be handed over for scraps. For a bull, this car is like a punching bag for a heavyweight fighter. Just a nice way to spend time. When a herd of buffaloes came to drink, suddenly a huge hippopotamus got out of the water. These aggressive beasts have obvious anger control problems. Just don't try to hint to them about therapy. It only pisses them off more. As soon as a stranger comes to the territory of a hippopotamus, the animal goes into some kind of frenzy. With the weight of about 4 tons, armed with fangs almost as long as an adult's arm, and even under the protection of a dense and thick hide, the hippopotamus causes danger in other animals and can drive anyone away. Except buffaloes. If the family wants water, it will get water. The leader will distract the aggressor on himself, and the rest will support the leader. Dominic Toretto would be proud of these horned ones because they know what the value of a family is. A huge bear came out of the forest to catch a domestic cow. He sure underestimated the ungulates. Not only were they not scared, but they went to get acquainted with the bear with the whole herd. As a result, the predator just ran away. And this is an ordinary domestic cow. The tiger is one of the few predators on the planet that can handle an adult bull one-on-one. This huge cat surpasses even a lion in strength and can break a buffalo's neck with a blow of its paw. During the attack, she uses a cool fighting technique. She throws herself on her neck and does a somersault in flight. This is acrobatics. The purpose of such a trick is to bring down the bull, despite his 2-fold weight advantage. The plan was effective. The tiger hung onto the victim and had already reached the throat. It was not possible to break the neck, but still the buffalo had only a few minutes of desperate struggle. At least that's what the tiger thought, but he didn't know which bull he was messing with. And it's not the strength of this animal, but the fact that he has loyal friends. There was a group of these buffaloes nearby, and the tiger decided that all these ungulates would run away in fear. Mistake. They tried to fight off a kinsman. However, the tiger was not only able to defend the prey, but even rebuffed the bulls and chased them. That was the decisive moment. It turned out that this was a tactical trick. The bulls only pretended to be scared in order to force the tiger to abandon the victim. And when the tabby cat started chasing them, the ungulates suddenly turned around to counterattack. They went into a frontal attack to trample this predator. The tiger had to flee. Unfortunately, the bull's cunning plan worked too slowly. The injuries of the wounded bull turned out to be too strong, so the striped cat will still get her lunch. But it is unlikely to ever approach this herd again. After all, these bulls know how to play with tactics and strategy. Who knows what kind of trap they will come up with the next enemy this time. Bulls often fight with other herbivorous horned animals. For example, there may be a duel between a buffalo and a yak. Musk oxen and yaks are quite rare animals with a limited habitat. Because of their massive hunchbacked bodies, they may seem clumsy, but do not underestimate the monstrous strength of these creatures. Musk oxen live in the northern regions of Eurasia and America. They are quite distant relatives of ordinary bulls. But the yaks, on the contrary, are closer to them genetically. Yaks live in the mountainous regions of China and other countries of the Himalayan region. According to one of the laws of biology, the further into the cold climatic zones, the stronger and larger the local animals become. Therefore, it is not surprising that musk oxen are much heavier than half a ton, with a height of about 5 feet. Just look at how this musk oxen, for the sake of training, smashes a huge log as tall as a man into splinters. With each blow, huge chunks fly off the tree. The musk ox rushes to the target at the speed of a projectile. And this despite the fact that the animal is just having fun. Surprisingly, the duel of this buffalo and a yak looks unexpectedly noble. Unlike the cruel rhinoceros, which tries to pierce the victim with constant stabbing blows, both ungulates collide in a frontal attack and simply try to overpower each other without unnecessary violence. It seems that for them, it is something like a sport. After all, they do not compete for the females, a place in the herd, or a territory. Maybe it's really just entertainment for them. What do you think? The snow leopard is one of the few animals that can defeat a yak. This panther is smaller than a tiger or lion, but also has great strength and agility. However, this time the spotted predator contacted the wrong enemy. He attacked the yak calf, hoping for easy prey. The cub almost gave up, but his mother was not afraid of the enemy's fangs and claws. Yaks are large animals. Males can reach a weight of about a ton and a height of up to 7 feet, up to 2 meters. Females are much smaller, but their size also inspires respect. This cow went on the attack and recaptured her offspring with lightning speed. The snow leopard was almost trampled by sharp hooves, and he had to run to look for prey with a less strong character and powerful horns. There are regions of Asia and Africa where wild bulls coexist with domestic ones that are on free grazing, and there are often conflicts between them. Strangely enough, but life next to a man has not pampered a domestic bull at all, which gives a powerful rebuff to its wild cousin. Just look at how confidently he pushed his opponent away. An indomitable power that you don't expect from a pet. This was in vain. After all, these animals spend a lot of time in an open area, so they have to repel the attacks of not only uninvited hoofed guests, but also predators. It builds character. The buffalo realized too late that he had contacted the wrong opponent when he came to this field. He expected that he would get juicy grass and possibly the females of the herd. But instead, he got crushing blows. The bull not only repels the wild buffalo, but also strikes him with his horns in the neck area. Both animals are at risk because they cling to each other and can seriously injure their eyes with the sharp tips of their horns during a power struggle. Fortunately, this is not happening. The bulls beat each other several times, converge in the fight, while the cows watch the outcome of the duel with interest. Interesting. Who do you think they're rooting for? The duel of two Gaurs looks especially impressive. This is the name of the largest representatives of the bull family. Their weight can reach 2 tons at a height of more than 2 feet, more than 2 meters. They live in tropical regions of Asia, so they have very short fur. Every steel muscle under the polished hide stretches like a string when 2 males come together in a duel. They butt heads and try to avoid sharp blows with sharp horns, but at the same time they powerfully ram each other with the shock part of the head and sweep away everything in their path during with such a duel. It is not surprising that even young Indian elephants give in to Gaur with his pressure and combat capabilities. A horned animal can push an inexperienced elephant into the depths of the jungle to feel freely in a spacious field. Only a tiger can pose a threat to Gaur. But if the cat does not manage to sneak up unnoticed, she will have to retreat. Otherwise, the horns of the ungulate will show that it is better to get involved with somebody else. This rather frightening animal, with a unique shape of the head and jaw, may well be mistaken for a creature from hell. What you're seeing right now is not a genetic glitch or a mutant. This creature is called the ugliest animal in the world. But in Syria, in their homeland, goats of this breed are considered simply divinely beautiful. This is a rare breed of domestic goat called the Damascus goat, known as Shami. In many countries, they are kept because of their unique, exotic appearance. With bulging foreheads, drooping ears, and protruding bites, they resemble something out of science fiction. These demonic goats, and there's no other way to call them, are most common in Cyprus, Palestine, Israel, and Syria. The breed belongs to the heavy type. The maximum weight that Shami goats can gain becomes 130 kilograms, with a height of 1 meter, and goats weigh up to 90 kilograms with a height of 75 to 85 centimeters at the withers. The most distinctive characteristic of the breed is a head with a very hooked muzzle. Another characteristic feature of pedigreed goats is hanging ears, the length of which can reach 30 centimeters. Many goat owners take the strange appearance of the Damascus goat to a new level by cropping their ears short. That's pretty right, isn't it, girl? They gained worldwide fame in 2008 when one of the goats of this breed won the title of the most beautiful goat in a beauty contest in Saudi Arabia. Now this rare breed has become extremely valuable. According to experts, the cost of one such goat is comparable to the cost of Arabian thoroughbred horses and can reach $67,000. The most shocking thing about this breed is the difference between their appearance when they are small and when they grow up. Shami goats with a small head and incredibly long ears look pretty cute. But then, they gradually begin to turn into a real monster capable of scaring many with their appearance. Would you like to meet such a cute goat? There are goats who love mountains and fresh air. They are very unpretentious and sometimes live in places where other animals simply cannot be found. And life in the mountains is very difficult. Only the smartest, cleverest, and of course, proud survive. The snow goat is a breed of goats living in the mountains. Goats live only in the Rocky Mountains of North America. They live very high. They can climb mountains to a height of about 3,000 meters. They lead a nomadic lifestyle, moving over bare rocks and patches of alpine lawns. Snow goats are real beauties. Their fur is white almost the whole year, and their hooves are black. Snow goats are very large. Their height at the withers is 90 to 105 centimeters. Weight is 85 to 135 kilograms. Because of the lush fur, they look even bigger. The goat's winter fur coat is such that it can withstand frosts up to -50 degrees Celsius. Snow goats have an incredible climbing ability. People for climbing have arms, legs, and a bunch of all sorts of devices, and goats have only legs. But the legs are not ordinary, but the best. Strong, slender, and very bouncy. Despite their impressive physique, they walk on completely steep cliffs with barely noticeable ledges and cornices. It seems completely incomprehensible how such large animals can stay there. They manage to put their hooves on the smallest stones and then climb onto ledges from which it is almost impossible to get off. They move slowly, lazily, and very rarely jump. At the same time, if the snow goat jumps, it is usually down, sometimes 6 to 7 meters, on a barely noticeable, often icy ledge. The hooves of a snow goat are a perfect device for climbing mountains. They are bifurcated and can move apart as needed, providing traction with the surface. They are soft in the center and very hard at the edges. That is why snow goats never slide on rocks, but seem to stick to them and can stay even on tiny ledges and climb steep slopes. These animals have plenty of enemies, but predators are extremely rare on their way, because they do not rise to such a height. But it happens when faced with an enemy, they fight off the enemy with their horns, thereby saving their lives. An angry goat can be a very dangerous component. The most terrible predator for them is a mountain lion that climbs rocks, just like snow goats. However, it must be said that the most dangerous creatures for animals are the human hunter and the human poacher. Do you agree? Share your opinion in the comments. Have you heard of goats fainting? As it turns out, goats are also known for how they faint, and they do this from strong fear or overexertion. In emergency situations, the goat falls into a complete stupor and falls on its back or sideways with its legs outstretched. Fainting goats are a type of ordinary domestic goats with a rare genetic disease, congenital myotonia. In stressful situations, animals develop complete muscular paralysis of the legs. Since it is impossible to stand in this state, they fall on their side or on their back. At the same time, the goats are fully conscious. As a rule, the condition is observed for a short time. When this happens, the goats usually freeze for about 10 seconds, but then get up and run about their business again. Isn't it interesting and funny to watch them run around and then suddenly faint? These pretty cute goats with big bulging eyes and a Roman profile are very popular. More and more often, they are brought up as a pet, especially small specimens, as they are smart, friendly, and funny. Currently, fainting goats in the United States are recognized as a rare breed of domestic animals and are under protection. A special kind of mountain goat lives in the alpine mountains, which are called ibex or ibex. Alpine ibex is an unsurpassed rock climber and mountaineer. And if it is clear why goats climb mountain slopes, then why do they stubbornly climb the slopes of dams? It's amazing to see goats not in the mountains, but on a dam. Impressive, right? Then let's put some likes. So why would mountain goats climb steep man-made walls? And then what they desperately lack in the mountains? And they don't have enough salt. And for the goats' sake, they are ready to walk many kilometers or climb unimaginable steps. The goats climb up on their hooves, as if they are rubber, and literally stick to an almost vertical wall. And they do all this solely in order to lick some salt. And they can also arrange a fight on a sheer wall, fighting for the saltiest place. It is very surprising to see goats moving around where they seemed to be nothing to cling to. And all this is thanks to tenacious hooves, a very good sense of balance, and a vestibular apparatus. That's what they are, salt goats. Would you like to have such a goat as a pet? It is known that goats are unsurpassed climbers, and goats can jump higher than their height from a place. Try again. What, it's not working? Yes, it is very difficult, and climbing a tree for goats is not difficult at all. Moroccan goats are the most bouncy on the planet, and they graze not on the ground, but on trees. This happens not from a desire to show off, but because of the acute shortage of grass in those places. Goats, like movie stuntmen, stand on incredibly shaky branches and reach for their delicacy, the fleshy and juicy fruits of argan. Maybe it's a specially bred breed that can climb argan, you ask? No, Moroccan goats are, in fact, the most ordinary. This is not some kind of unique species endowed with acrobatic abilities. It's just that goats, forced to adapt to the harsh local realities, have found a new food base. By the way, the height of Argan reaches 8 to 10 meters. So, Moroccan goats can be safely recorded in the most real climbers. There are amazing goats of the Welsh breed. Their front half of the body is black, and the back half is white. Welsh goats come from Switzerland and are considered one of the oldest breeds in Europe. Her origin is African. They immigrated from Africa to Switzerland to a place called Valais in the mountains, and so far they live only in the upper bowl. Both goats and goats have horns. The horns are very powerful and long, on average in goats 30 to 50 centimeters, in goats 80 centimeters. It was a Welsh goat named Harlequin with the length of 1 meter 24 centimeters horns that got into the Guinness Book of World Records in 1991. They are unique not only in color, but also in a very thick coat. After all, it is primarily a rock where wind, snow, and rain are at a frequent occurrence. The coat is very coarse, thick, and everywhere except for the muzzle and legs, long, up to 40 to 50 centimeters. There is a distinctive feature in the forehead, which is a thick bang. They are not cut, but they are scratched 2 times a year. They are still kept in some zoos as exotic animals. Screw-horned goats, Markhors, live high in the mountains. Of all mountain goats, they are the largest and the most powerful. With a body length of up to 1.7 meters, shoulder height of 90 centimeters, and a weight of up to 90 kilograms. The name of this species comes from the shape of the horns, twisting like a corkscrew or screw. Look at the magnificent horns on this goat right here. They reach a length of 1.5 meters. True, only males have luxurious horns. Females cannot boast of such a length and are content with 20 to 30 centimeter horns. The horns of a screw-horned goat are twisted in opposite directions. The number of revolutions reaches 2 to 3, rarely 4 revolutions. Mountain goats don't shed their horns, they wear them all their lives. And in order to maintain their ventrigost, the Markhors need to marry only their own kind. The habitat of this animal is steep slopes of gorges, rocks, and cliffs at an altitude of 500 to 3,500 meters in the mountains of northwestern India, eastern Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Screw-horned goats spend their whole lives among rocky cliffs and deep gorges. The mountains give them both food and shelter from enemies. The Markhors jumped so deftly to the steepest slopes that any climber would envy them for sure. Moving away from danger, they can go down into the gorge, jumping along the steep walls from one side to the other, while relying only on the smallest ledges. Their legs are strong and their hooves are designed so that they do not slip on stones, so predators who decide to hunt Markhors will have to look for other prey. Screw-horned goats are peaceful animals, but in the spring, when the males arrange tournaments, there is no trace of this calmness. Seeing each other, the rivals immediately try to prove their superiority by butting and pushing. They collide with strong foreheads with such force that the sound of the impact can't be heard for over a kilometer. There is an opinion that screw-horned goats became the ancestors of domestic goats. Do we know much about the goats we are familiar with? Well, yes, this is horned, eternally bleeding animal gives milk, fluff, maybe some eat it, many of us will say. However, there are many breeds that some have never even heard of. Their homeland is Pakistan, and they can also be found in Arab countries, on the territory of India, Afghanistan, and Tajikistan. Gulabi is an incredibly beautiful, graceful animal with white fur. Slim build, elongated thin neck, head with a Roman profile, expressively lively eyes, and long droopy ears. Very long ears that hang down to the knees are impressive. They are soft, wide, and thin. They appeared in goats for a reason. In their homeland, expressive ears help regulate heat exchange, preventing the body from overheating. The breed got its name because of its pink skin color. Gulabi translates as pink. These are high-legged animals. The height at the withers in goats is up to 110 centimeters with a weight of 90 kilograms, and in goats, up to 130 centimeters with a live weight of up to 130 kilograms. Goats have a thick coat, which makes them frost-resistant and hardy at low temperatures. Gulabi are also very appreciated for their delicious and nutritious milk. These goats are very intelligent and affectionate, and quickly become attached to their owner. They immediately recognize their owner, and sometimes behave like dogs, completely copying their behavior. They follow along the site, sleep near the door of the house, waiting for the appearance of a person. Have you ever looked into the eyes of a goat? Goats have a very unusual pupil shape. Due to the rectangular elongated shape of the pupil, the goat has a viewing angle of almost 340 degrees, depending on the lighting. They change from a narrow slit to a rectangle and even a square. It is this pupil and the special position of the eyes that allows even the most careless goat to notice a predator sneaking up from behind. And all this, mind you, without turning their head. The Italian breed of Gargantana goats traces its ancestry back to southern Italy. Her long horns, like a giant corkscrew, make this breed of goats uniquely original. Just imagine, the horns of an adult goat can reach a length of as much as 70 centimeters. However, the roots of this breed go far beyond Europe, towards high-altitude Afghanistan. According to some sources, the ancestors of Gurgatan goats are wild screw-horned goats. It was from them that they inherited their amazing horns. The ancestors of Gurgatan goats were probably brought to Sicily by the Arabs, who invaded its borders in 827. Gurgatan goats with impressive horns and a medium-sized white long-haired fur coat up to 85 centimeters high at the withers and weighing up to 65 kilograms. Looking at Gurgatan's funny goat, you involuntarily think about how impressive the fantasy of nature can be. Kashmiri goats live in the highlands of Central Asia and Tibet, in the mountainous regions of Mongolia, Iran, as well as in northern India, at an altitude of up to 5,000 meters above sea level, in a harsh climate and sudden temperature changes from -40 degrees to +40 degrees. To protect against the harsh climate, nature has awarded these animals with an amazing, unusually soft, and very valuable down, which protects the goats from rain, cold, and heat. It is a small, slender animal, about 1.5 meters long and 60 centimeters high. The trunks of Kashmiri goats are covered with a long guard hair with a thin and soft downy undercoat. In the textile industry, only their valuable down is used. For many centuries, the down of Kashmiri goats has remained the most expensive natural raw material of all known varieties of wool. The high cost is explained by the fact that an average of only 120 grams of fluff is extracted from one individual. In addition, goats of this breed cannot be bred with the preservation of wool properties anywhere outside the listed territories, since with climate change they quickly lose their properties. The down of Kashmiri goats and the products is the height of bliss. Let it be expensive, but the absence of allergies to it, extraordinary softness, lightness, and comfort are finding more and more fans all over the world every day. All goats are good, and which goat do you like the best? Can't choose? Look further to find the goat of your dreams. A very interesting breed, the Boer, was bred in South Africa at the very beginning of the 20th century. You can easily determine the breed by the color of the hair on the head. They have a brown color. This is their characteristic feature. The rest of the body is white. Males have thick horns on their heads that curve backwards. These goats are a dream legend for every goat breeder, a kind of cult, really. The reason for such popularity is the size of such individuals. In addition, the Boers are very beautiful and look like something exotic and enticing. In fact, Boers are large, massive, and very spectacular animals. The largest breed of domestic goats. The body weights of goats of this species can reach up to 95 kilograms, and adult goats often weigh more than 130 kilograms. Exhibition samples often weigh more, but that's why they're on exhibit. Boer females have a calm disposition, but the goats, they're wayward. They are agile and very strong. Sometimes they're aggressive. Some of the special features of Boer goats: rapid growth and high fertility, unpretentiousness and maintenance, good adaptability to climate conditions, in particular to a hot climate, explain why this species is definitely one of the best. Kamori are goats that are widely known for their beautiful and unique appearance. They have an amazing color, reminiscent of Arabic script. The homeland of this breed is animals in Pakistan. There, they're highly appreciated for their unpretentiousness in nutrition, good heat tolerance, for the taste of milk, as well as for the special coloring of the wool. The Kamori has red, brown, white, or black spots of unusual shape on a monophonic basis, in which there is a similarity with Arabic script. Kamori goats are very similar in appearance to other Pakistani goats. They are characterized by long, drooping ears and a hooked nose. The length of the ears can reach 45 centimeters. A goat is 1.5 to 2 times larger than goats. Kamori goats grow more than a meter. There are also representatives of the species who are as tall as an adult. Kamori are resistant to a bad environment and are a source of livelihood for many residents of Pakistan. These goats look like sheep, but are not even their close relatives. These are Angora goats. Their unique wool is the reason they look like sheep. The body is entirely covered with a shiny hair covering, which consists of pleasant to the touch, long, curly or wavy strands. A healthy Angora goat has soft wool falling in soft curls, which is quite beautiful to look at. The homeland of Angora goats is a mountainous area of sunny Turkey. The animals got their name in honor of the modern city of Ankara, known in ancient times as Angora. Adult Angora goats weigh 45 to 50 kilograms, and in addition to the wool, flaunt luxurious horns. The growth of goats can be up to 75 centimeters. The Angora goat, with a weight of 30 to 35 kilograms and a height of up to 66 centimeters, cannot boast of such a luxurious decoration. Her horns are small and thin. The main color of Angora is white. Goats with gray, black, and silver color are less common. But the main advantage of animals is their wool. Angora goats are the main wool breed of goats, giving the so-called mohair. On the farm, these goats are sheared twice a year, receiving up to 6 kilograms of wool from a goat and 3 to 5 from a goat. Then mohair yarn is obtained from this wool, which can be turned into many different warm things such as hats, scarves, mittens, and socks. Dutch Landrace. You will be stunned just by looking at this ferocious goat. It has long, hard horns and a shaggy, thick coat that easily scares people and other animals. Dutch Landrace goats are sturdy, medium-sized animals, mostly horned, with short legs and long hair. This breed is originally from the Netherlands. Goats are really very aggressive and can attack their owner without hesitation. And goats can also be used as a horse-drawn transport. A trained goat can pull a cart with a load of 500 kilograms. Haven't you heard? That's fine. In 1958, the Dutch Landrace breed almost disappeared, having been reduced to 2 animals. Since 1999, the number of goats of this breed has increased and today has about 2,200 heads. It has already become customary among the people that for comparing with this animal, you can get a slap in the face or permanently stop acquaintances with the offending one. Well, aren't these artiodactyls really that bad already? What do you think? This bull looks like a real monster, which was brought out in the laboratory and even pumped up with steroids. Its size is impressive, with a mass of almost 1.5 tons. It is twice as large as ordinary bulls. Every muscle is visible under the smooth hide. If such a bull were to strike, then even without horns, he could break through a wall. And this impressive musculature is not a single mutation, but the dignity of an entire breed. It is called the Belgian Blue cow. And at home, it is considered a real pride of breeders. Can you immediately imagine some mad scientist who tried to bring out an army of super strong bulls? No, there were no gamma irradiations as in the case of the Hulk, and there was not even a simple gene modification. Such pronounced musculature is found in many animals as a result of a natural mutation. The gene that is responsible for muscle growth simply becomes more active, so the body in the process of development uses food as a building material for such an impressive muscle frame to a greater extent than in the case of ordinary animals without this gene. This mutation occurs not only in cows, but also in other animals, for example, in dogs. However, the breeders who were engaged in breeding the Belgian Blue cow made efforts to fix this gene and turn it from a random mutation into a stable breed trait. To do this, they simply crossed cows and bulls with this gene amongst themselves. The result is a bodybuilding bull which is not only larger, but also much stronger than representatives of most other breeds. It's just that the Belgian Blue bull was not brought out to participate in fights or bullfights, and this is good, because then the matadors would simply not have a chance. This breed of bull was bred for meat. You would be surprised, but such a volume of muscles makes bull meat less fatty than chicken, and more than 3 times less fatty than regular beef. And on the contrary, there is much more protein. In addition, these bulls are real good-natured and have a very balanced character. Of course, it's not worth teasing them, but for no reason such bulls do not use their superpower and do not run to attack. But would you dare to approach such an animal? Let us know in the comments. The Brahman bull looks like the fruit of the forbidden love of a cow and a camel. But this, of course, is not the case. Such hybrids are impossible due to a large difference in the genetic code of these animals. However, the Brahman looks really unusual. A huge, powerful body, a large head the size of a human torso, and at the same time a massive hump that adds almost half a foot, about 15 centimeters, to the height of the beast and can be so large that it will fall on its side while running. The Brahman is the first breed of cattle that was bred in the United States at the very beginning of the 20th century. That's just as the name implies, it was based on breeds brought to the States from distant India. The weight of a bull can go far beyond a ton, and in height, 6.5 feet, about 2 meters. Its huge hump is not an ornament, but rather plays the same role as the hump of a camel. It can be a container of nutrients if the animal has to go for a long time without water and food. That's why these animals are so loved by farmers in the United States. A Brahman bull can be released to free grazing and not worry about whether the animal will find water and food. Even if it walks through a deserted territory for a while, the fat reserve in the hump will help it survive without loss of health before food is found in sufficient quantity. I'd say that abilities like this deserve your like, don't you agree? In addition, it is not only one of the largest bulls on the planet, but also one of the most persistent and hardy. Its skin is so dense that the animal is practically invulnerable to the bites of the largest mosquitoes and other bloodsuckers. This means that the animal will not suffer from ailments that these insects carry. The Chianina is a breed of bulls that resemble a cloud. No, I don't mean that they're fluffy. I just mean that it seems that the shadow of such a giant can really cover a small city. The height of this beast is 6.5 feet, about 2 meters. The weight can reach 1.5 tons. This makes him one of the biggest bulls in the world. He is so huge that it competes in size with young hippos. Huge strength, endurance, and surprisingly calm character traits made this bull very popular. The Chianina is not only considered one of the most common breeds in its native Italy, but has also become popular far beyond its Italian borders. It is also considered incredibly ancient, older than some countries in which this breed is now bred. Huge herds of Chianina graze in many countries of South America. In addition to its huge size, this giant has a skin that resembles armor. Therefore, not only blood-sucking insects, but also small snakes cannot bite through it. What you need for a tropical climate, to which this beast has adapted well and does not suffer at all from the heat, which could drive you into an air-conditioned room in half an hour. Usually a cow is much smaller than a bull, about 1.5 times. But in the case of the Montbéliard breed, the situation's a little different. These huge animals impress with their size regardless of gender. The most common cow grows so big that its height at the withers reaches 6 feet, 1.8 meters. That is the height of an adult man. Bulls, of course, are also huge. This French breed was bred to produce milk and meat. The logic of breeders is simple. The bigger the cow, the more milk it can give. And you know what? That's right. A cow gives about 8.5 tons of milk a year, enough to feed a small village. And the entire farm can export milk and products from it. So these cows are a real source of white gold. However, most of this wealth goes to the cheese. Some brands of elite French cheeses, for example, Mont d'Or, Maubier, Comté, and Bleu de Gex, must contain milk from these cows. There it is, career success. As for bulls, their meat is valued for the absolute, complete absence of a fat layer, amazing tenderness, and elasticity. Sorry, vegetarians, these are dry facts, not meat-eating propaganda. The German Angus is an unusual breed of bull, which immediately catches the eye with its massiveness. The weight of a cow can significantly exceed half a ton, but the main thing is bulls. The difference between the sexes in this breed is huge, and males are about twice as heavy as females, reaching a mass of more than a ton. At the same time, the backbone of bulls is only 15% of the animal's weight, which is quite small. Therefore, the bull looks a little puffed up with his broad chest, huge body, and head on relatively thin legs. But no, he doesn't suffer from obesity. This is a natural trait of the animal. The Asian swamp buffalo is a true titan even among other wild-horned heavyweights. He is a third larger than ordinary bulls with a mass of up to 1.2 tons. But the main thing is the dimensions. The height at the withers of the marsh buffalo can reach almost 7 feet, about 2.2 to 2.3 meters. In length, it grows up to 10 feet, almost 3 meters. That is, in size, this animal sort of resembles a minibus. But the most impressive are the huge, powerful horns. They are slightly curved and usually directed backwards so as not to interfere with the animal passing through dense thickets. And for good reason, because the length of the horns of wild individuals can reach 7 feet, more than 2 meters. And if such a huge weapon was pointed up and forward like deer, then after a walk through the forest, the buffalo would have to clean the horns from bird nests and broken tree branches. Once upon a time, this majestic beast lived on a vast territory throughout Asia. The western tip of its range reached ancient Mesopotamia, while the eastern one reached southern China. In addition, this buffalo lived on many islands, for example in the Philippines and in Malaysia. Unfortunately, due to deforestation and the development of wildlands for agriculture, these buffaloes now live only in India, Nepal, Bhutan, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and Ceylon. And that's not bad either though, is it? The only trouble is that wild herds of these buffaloes are adjacent to domestic bulls, which are on free grazing in many of these countries. These domestic bulls are descendants of the Asian buffalo, which was tamed thousands of years ago, so the animals can freely interbreed. This is a problem because over the centuries, under the care of a person, domestic bulls have changed quite a lot. Their horns have become almost twice as short, a sagging belly has appeared, and the character has changed. Do you remember what Thor looked like in Infinity War, and then in Endgame? Here, too, the difference is about the same. An unpleasant sight, wouldn't you agree? I do agree. It motivates you to take care of yourself. Cubs from wild and domestic buffaloes are usually weaker than purebred wild individuals. This is bad because there are almost no worthy opponents in nature for an adult wild buffalo. Only the tiger and the largest crocodiles can attack adult males. The battle of the tiger and the buffalo is one of the most impressive duels that can be seen in the wild. Opponents are worthy of each other. The largest and strongest wildcat against the largest and most aggressive wild buffalo in all of Asia. The tiger sneaks up to the buffalo to pounce on the prey before it has time to use its horns. The predator is trying to get to the throat, and a tiger can break the net of smaller individuals with one blow. But an adult bull is too strong, so the tiger's only chance is to get to the neck vessels with its fangs or strangle. That's just that the ungulate does not give up without a fight and can trample the tiger. And if he notices the cat too early and manages to meet the jump with his horns, then the tiger will at best be forced to run. In addition, buffaloes are herd animals, and mutual assistance of ungulates can be a very bad trait for a tiger. In the worst case, the striped beast itself will become a victim. But the more blood of a domestic cousin in a wild buffalo, the weaker and more vulnerable it is to other predators like leopards, wolves, and red dogs. Huge and strange animals that look like fabulous monsters live in the Amazon forests. Now you will learn about why this river generates such creatures and who can lurk in the most remote jungle. Jaguar is the third largest panther, second only to lions and tigers. That's just in terms of rage and combat skills. She can compete with them on equal terms. Among her relatives, she is distinguished by the brutal style of hunting. Lionesses usually strangle their victim, and tigers either also cut off oxygen or break their necks. But jaguars act differently. At the base of the skulls of the victims of these predators, traces of powerful bites are usually found, which crush the cervical vertebrae, break the occipital bones, and interrupt the vessels. The jaws of this cat are incredibly strong. The jaguar is one of those predators that can really literally bite off the victim's head. In addition, the jaguar has very powerful paws, which it can use with surgical precision. At the same time, the jaguar is a cautious, cunning, and versatile fighter. He ambushes in the thickest thickets, swims and hunts well in the water, climbs trees perfectly, and can fall on the victim from the height of the second or third floor to solve the issue of his lunch with one blow. And this cat is also braver than the wolverine, because it hunts not only herbivores, but even crocodiles. And in the enemy's native element, right in the water. But why is this cat so cool? The answer to this question is at the same time an explanation of why the Amazon creates real monsters. The jaguar, with all its advantages, although it is one of the most effective predators of these places, is still not only the king of the jungle, and all its advantages are needed by the cat just to survive. In almost any other corner of the planet, a predator with the capabilities of a jaguar would become the dominant species. But in the Amazon basin, it is only one of many. For example, his manner of biting through the back of the victim's head was developed simply because the creatures that the jaguar hunts are invulnerable to strangulation, and so powerful that it is almost impossible for them to break their necks in another way. Extremely harsh living conditions forced the jaguar to become a more formidable hunter than a lion or tiger. Although the spotted cat is inferior to its larger cousins in size and sheer power, it surpasses them in, let's say, special skills. For example, this is a special vision. You know that cats have it much better than humans, but the jaguar has it even better than most of its relatives. The vision of this spotted predator is not only incredibly sharp, clear, and has a night vision mode, but also has unmasking capabilities. Many animals have learned mimicry. They are able to blend in with the environment, which makes them almost invisible. Jaguar doesn't care about this ability. His vision is able to penetrate through this disguise, so even in the colorful rainforest, it is possible to cope with him. In addition, this cat has the most powerful bite among all felines, simply because otherwise it is impossible to cope with the shells of turtles, caimans, and armadillos. Yes, you understand correctly. Jaguars open the powerful shells of turtles and are able to cope even with the frontal armor of an adult crocodile. And at the same time, the cat can catch prey even at the height of the 7th floor, because with a mass of up to 220 pounds, up to 100 kilograms, this predator practically flies between the branches at a great height, climbs the crowns of the tallest trees, and catches monkeys, as well as other super clever animals. Handsome, don't you agree? He deserves your like. The Amazon River Basin is one of the most mysterious places in the world. This river competes with the Nile for the title of the longest. But what the Amazon has no competitors in is the size of the pool and fullness of water. If we take into account the remote tributaries, the area of the Amazon basin is more than 3 times the area of the whole of Mexico. Most of this vast territory is occupied by jungles that have been growing there for more than 1 million years. A very large amount of water, fertile soil, high humidity, and a warm climate have led to the fact that for dense vegetation, here is the best place in the world. The jungle in such conditions has become incredibly dense and diverse. Do you know that the saying that the Amazon is the lungs of the planet? If this is an exaggeration, then only a little, because the local tropical forests produce about 20% of the planet's total oxygen. But this miracle of nature has another, dark side. Due to such favorable conditions for the life of flora, its own unique ecosystem has been formed here. The Amazon basin is almost another world, a very harsh world. In the wild, there is a real arms race. Predators are developing new ways to overcome the victim. Meanwhile, the prey is trying to find a new defensive weapon. In the Amazon basin, this race got a real boost of steroids. Therefore, there are most of the creatures that it is best for a person never to encounter. Unless Australia can be found no less dangerous creatures, but there are much fewer of them. It was the Amazon that became home to the largest and strongest snake in the world, the anaconda. This reptile reaches a length of about 16 feet, about 5 meters, and this is for her very usual dimensions. A snake that was almost twice as large got into the Guinness Book of World Records. And according to the rumors of the local population, there are real giants in the impenetrable thickets. The length of this legendary snake can reach some incredible 50 feet or 15 meters. Such a snake would be able to hang down from the 6th floor, and the tip of its tail would remain in the window when the head would have already touched the ground. There is no documented evidence of the existence of such giants, or they are unreliable. But admit it, it would be stupid cool to meet a huge monster snake in the thickets of the rainforest, which could hunt elephants, and try to stretch it along to accurately measure the length. So, even if such reptiles exist, it is unlikely that we will know about it for sure in the coming years. What do you guys think? Share your opinion in the comments. But even an ordinary anaconda is one of the most terrible predators on the planet. The whole body of an anaconda is a weapon consisting of twisted tight muscles, powerful as steel cables. Even an ordinary anaconda can deal with a wild boar and be dangerous for both a jaguar and a black caiman. These snake attacks the victim with lightning speed. While the prey is in shock, the snake is already wrapping its rings around it. The anaconda does not try to find a neck to strangle the prey. The snake doesn't need it. Instead, the reptile simply crushes the victim with a mass and squeezes her whole body in her arms. The rings immobilize the limbs and do not allow you to fight effectively, run, or counterattack. The prey tries to breathe, but at the exhalation of the victim, the snake makes an additional effort and squeezes the chest harder. So there is less space in the lung for the next breath. Gradually, the prey loses strength. Pretty scary, don't you agree? This is not the end, though. When the victim is almost given up, the anaconda squeezes her body even harder to break bones and cause critical damage to internal organs. Do you feel sorry for the anaconda prey? Well, she can only hope that this stage will be fatal for her. After all, the snake eats its prey whole, slowly swallowing it. Do you see these two bones in the hands of the scientist? These are the vertebrae of two snakes. The one he holds in his right hand belongs to an anaconda. Can you imagine how long a monster should be if its vertebrae is several times larger than the bone of this giant snake? We are talking about the largest snake in the history of the planet, Titanoboa. According to scientists, the largest anacondas weigh about 480 pounds, about 210 kilograms. The Titanoboa is 5 times more massive. A snake weighing about a ton, where the whole mass is powerful musculature. This creature died out millions of years ago, so there is no need to be afraid of the monster. But guess where these creatures lived? That's right, in the Amazon basin. Of course, the Amazon basin is also home to venomous snakes. Some of the most dangerous in the world. Was there any doubt about it? This place amazes with the variety of ways that the local inhabitants can use if they want to fight. Kaisaka is a venomous snake that has infrared vision. It captures the body heat and preys mainly on small rodents. But its venom is designed to protect the owner from an aggressive deer, not just from a mouse. The Kaisaka is a relative of the rattlesnake, so its venom also has a similar effect. It is a hemotoxin, a substance that destroys blood. The complex chemical composition of the poison gives it a combined effect. Tissue necrosis begins at the bite site. But the main thing is the effect on the circulatory system. There are abundant internal bleedings, which weaken the body. Then the heart and kidneys fail. There is an antidote for the Kaisaka poison, but in order for a person to survive, the serum must be injected as soon as possible. According to statistics, the venom of this particular snake affects people living in the Amazon basin most often. Such a huge number of dangerous creatures can easily be explained by the highest population density among all the biomes of the planet. A biome is a collection of ecosystems of a certain climatic zone. So, the Amazon basin is, of course, a huge territory. But at the same time, there are several times more living beings here than in any other place on the planet with the same area. Think about it. 10% of all animal species known to science live right here, in the basin of a single river. And this is not because scientists are lazy and we're looking for living beings only here. On the contrary, the Amazon is still being explored, and apparently, hundreds or even thousands of species unknown to science live on the territory of this local jungle, which are waiting just to be found. Well, or they're not waiting, and then scientists are waiting for a lot of unpleasant surprises. Millions of species of insects, which means tens of billions of their representatives, thousands of species of birds, reptiles, and amphibians, hundreds of species of mammals, including very large ones. This diversity of species is another reason why the Amazon breeds monsters. Just statistically, the more living creatures in general, the more dangerous they are. In addition, the diversity of species is also affected by the level of climate favorability. The Amazon is warm and humid all year round. Of course, these conditions are great for the development of pathogenic bacteria. So, if you decide to travel through the impenetrable thickets of the local jungle, do not forget about the danger, even if no one bites or if no one stings you. There are enough contagious diseases here, and because of the humidity, infection easily penetrates into the smallest wounds and scratches. But diseases and a high probability of inflammation, even small skin lesions, this is not enough to restrain the development of living beings, if conditions are conducive to this. And here the conditions are excellent. Therefore, if people do not interfere with deforestation and development of territories for agriculture, the population of many species in the Amazon basin will be consistently high. And this means a large number of predators, much more than in many other regions of the planet. For example, the territory of Canada, which is larger than the Amazon basin, is home to more than 30 species of snakes, but only 4 of them are poisonous and may pose some kind of danger to humans. There are hundreds of species of venomous snakes in the Amazon basin, so there are several dozen dangerous ones among them. The largest venomous snake of the Amazon basin is the bushmeister. It lives in the most remote corners of the jungle. That's the only reason people are lucky to rarely encounter it. The bushmeister is really a terrible monster. For her, 7 feet long, or 2 meters, is the norm, and sometimes there are twice as long individuals, which makes her a rival of the king cobra for the title of the largest venomous snake on the planet. The poison has a combined effect, simultaneously hitting the nervous system and affecting the victim's blood. Interestingly enough, this snake is one of the best ambush masters ever. She is able to freeze completely in one place, which gives her the perfect disguise. In a stationary position, she will wait for prey for days. Thanks to a not-too-active lifestyle, she can afford to eat very rarely, once a month or even less. Imagine this. An animal walks through the forest and constantly monitors the environment. Otherwise, there is no way to survive there. Everything seems to be in order, no unnecessary movement, no rustle, no threats. Suddenly, teeth dig into the leg and a terrible pain permeates the entire body. And this is just the beginning. Then the poison begins to act until the poor animal realizes in shock that a huge snake the length of a car suddenly appeared next to her out of nowhere. If you think that only large animals are dangerous in the Amazon basin, then you're definitely mistaken. Literally anyone can pose a threat here. From an insect to a cute, at first glance, animal that seems defenseless until it screams in your face. For example, this cute little toad. Look at how adorable it is, right? You won't understand right away that 100 of these crumbs could exterminate all the jaguars on the planet. Therefore, spotted babies, like most other living creatures, avoid this amphibian. Vividly, the frog is called a terrible leaf climber. And such a name is not an exaggeration. It is one of the most venomous creatures on Earth. So don't be surprised by its bright coloring. The leaf climber does not disguise himself. With a body length of about 1.5 inches, up to 4 centimeters, it is not afraid of anyone and stands out among the foliage on purpose so that it is noticed from afar and not touched. And it works. Most animals at the sight of this creature behave like Homer from that meme, you know? The key feature of the frog is that its entire body is covered with poison. Most toxins need active interaction with the circulatory system, or at least the mucous membrane of the victim. But not the poison of a leaf climber. It works through the skin. That is, just touching this little monster with your finger is enough for the poison to take effect in a couple of minutes. The total amount of poison on one frog is 500 times more than it takes to stop one person's heart. But people have a fairly high resistance to poisons relative to body weight. The amphibious creature acts for sure. So what kind of poison is this? It is called a batrachotoxin, and it is one of the most mysterious toxic substances in the animal world. The substance is incredibly poisonous and has a complex effect. First of all, it destroys the heart. Due to the combined structure, the poison causes both an increase in the heartbeat and a malfunction in its rhythms, and subsequently, a complete cardiac arrest. The toxin acts in a matter of minutes, but these are very painful minutes. In addition, the poison also affects the nervous system, causing irreversible changes in it. As a result, pain, cramps, loss of muscle control. There is no antidote to the toxin, nothing at all. But for some reason, scientists have proved that when combined with scorpion venom, the toxic properties of batrachotoxin increase by 12 times. We don't know why this information is needed. Maybe scientists are afraid that frogs will unite with scorpions and try to take over the planet? Well, with such weapons, they kind of have a chance. After all, researchers can't even say exactly where this toxin even comes from. That it's from toads, this is obvious, but no one knows how they produce it. Perhaps there are special glands in the amphibian's body that have not yet been found. Perhaps it's all about the diet, we don't know. Substances that structurally resemble batrachotoxin have been found in some beetles. If a leaf climber eats these beetles, it can accumulate and process these compounds to secrete on the surface of the skin in the form of poison. But no one knows for sure. In captivity, yes, it occurred to someone to keep these little monsters in captivity. Do not do that. They gradually lose their poisonous properties. That is, they can kill not a whole herd of bulls, but only 2 or 3 individuals in one touch. You probably guessed that people learned how to use the poison of these amphibians centuries ago, don't you? Of course, as a weapon. Local tribes lubricate arrows with them. Therefore, you should not quarrel with the Aborigines. And as it is, a terrible leaf climber is a cute creature. Instead of webbing, it has little fingers that help him stick to the leaves. This animal spends most of its life on them. Thanks to this property, the species got its name. Now get ready. The Amazon basin is home to about 100 species of frogs with venom, which can be dangerous for large animals. And the leaf climber is just one of them. We will not describe the other 99, otherwise after this video you would get so excited about them that you would start catching insects with your tongue. But you must admit, 100 species of poisonous frogs for one river is a lot. After all, each species is a population of many thousands or even tens of thousands of individuals. The peculiarity of the Amazon is that there are representatives of any order of animals can be dangerous. Dozens of species of poisonous scorpions, hundreds of species of insects, a meeting with which you will definitely not like. And every year, new ones are found. So there are several species of ants that can be dangerous to humans in the Amazon basin. And they are about as dangerous as a meeting with a man-eating lion. For example, this little ant. Do you think these insects can only cause inconvenience in large numbers? No. The bite of this ant alone causes pain, which experienced people have compared to a bullet hit, and all thanks to a very strong poison. Unlike snake venom, this toxin could not stop the heart. Nope, he has to make you suffer. The bite of at least 3 of these ants will make you forget about getting close to their colony forever. Even the name of the insect is appropriate. Ant bullet. Or here are stray ants. They rely on group work. Their coherence is admired, especially from afar. After all, if you find yourself next to their colony, then the only thing you will think about is how to get out of here as soon as possible. Unlike most other ants, these do not create ant hills, do not build large above-ground palaces or underground tunnels. They just travel, as can be easily understood from the name. But in their wanderings, they are more like not cute tourists, but some Genghis Khan or Attila with his horde, who walked across Eurasia with fire and sword more than 1,000 years ago. Stray ants just go and demolish, devour, destroy literally everything in their path. There are thousands of creatures in their colony, and the most ordinary worker is cooler than a hornet. And the soldier ants generally resemble some kind of insect special forces. Vagrant ants march in clear columns, with warriors constantly patrolling the borders. They protect others from external threats. Worker ants are only called such. In fact, they are the greatest hunters. Among them, there are scouts who go ahead and look for the best routes, as well as those who attack the victim who was unlucky enough to be on the path of this huge family. The actions of these individuals are perfectly coordinated both in combat and in travel, when they carry everything they need, get food, and distribute it so that there is not a single hungry individual. In the center, there are ants that carry larvae, eggs, and most importantly, the queen. When a colony finds something tasty, it pounces on the target as a single organism. In a matter of minutes, only bones will remain from the bird. At night, the colony stops its flow, equips a temporary base, which it guards no worse than the United States guards the Pentagon. And in the morning, they take off again and go. Moreover, even water barriers cannot stop these purposeful kids. If the stream is narrow enough, then the ants create something like a living bridge. Some individuals turn into its supports, while others carry everything they need on the backs of their fellows. And if the reservoir is wide, then ants build live rafts according to the same scheme. Moreover, most of the ants that are at the bottom of such a ship survive, since their respiratory organs remain above the water. It's so effective in its design. And these are only 2 types of ants. Can you imagine what other creatures live there? However, why imagine? We'll just tell you. In general, small creatures in the Amazon can be even scarier than huge monsters. Look, this is Candiru, and it loves men who think the world is a toilet. It likes to eat them. If a man comes to the shore of the Amazon to relieve himself, there is a chance that this little creature will penetrate directly into his urethra up the stream. You know the way, don't you? The Candiru is so small that it easily climbs up into the urethra or even into the bladder and feeds on the surrounding cells and blood. It spreads its gills, on which there are thorns. These thorns cause small but painful wounds. Did we say that this is dangerous for men? It's a joke. It is dangerous for everyone and is quite capable of getting into the body of a woman as well. And you can only remove the fish operationally. It is worth admitting that there is almost no reliable evidence of such a peculiar attack on people, only scattered data and, of course, rumors. Usually, the Candiru parasitizes fish, takes them into their gill slits, spreads its own gills there, mutilates the host, and drinks its blood. Vampire fish. There is no exact data on the danger to humans, but it's still not worth the risk, don't you agree? The most famous dangerous fish of the Amazon is, of course, the piranha. At first glance, it looks pretty nondescript. Gray-green color, rounded body, except that the expression of the muzzle is some kind of aggressive, angry. But it is one of the most dangerous predators on the planet, at least in its ecological niche. To be in a pond where piranhas live is like falling into a bear trap that not only captures, but also eats its victim. The main advantage of these voracious fish is the quantity. Several dozen fish can live in a flock, and each of them is voracious and incredibly aggressive. Fish are not considered intelligent creatures, but piranhas have surprisingly effective attack tactics. They pounce on the prey of the whole pack and try to surround it from all sides. Each fish acts autonomously, but their habits make the interaction of piranhas during an attack very effective. The fish instantly approaches the target, tears off a piece of flesh directly from the live prey, and then swims off to swallow the food. During this short moment, the place of one piranha is taken by another, which stings directly into the area of the previous lesion. One fish spends less than a second to attack. And since the fish surrounded the prey and even line up in a live queue to tear off a piece of it, it turns out that a flock of these creatures attacks virtually continuously. Do piranhas scare you? Or do you dream of having them in your home aquarium? Let us know in the comments. For its size, the piranha has very strong jaws. They can even snack on a bamboo tube, which is so large in diameter that it barely fits in the fish's mouth. It's as if you could have a snack at your table you're sitting at. In addition, piranhas have rather large and sharp triangular-shaped teeth, which are ideal for tearing off pieces of meat. Even one fish can cause significant inconvenience to relatively large animals, since the wound will bleed profusely after the bite. But a dozen piranhas are already a threat to a medium-sized young deer, and a big pack is capable of coping with anyone at all. Probably the scales of adult caimans are inaccessible to them because of their strength and thickness. But an anaconda will be eaten by a flock of piranhas in 6 or 7 minutes. And a cow that weighs half a ton will be gnawed to death in a quarter of an hour. By the way, piranhas are able to swim into the ocean, although this fish spawns only in fresh water. They usually lie in wait for their prey in muddy water, but at the same time, they can comfortably exist both at great depth and in shallow water. Usually, they still hunt other fish and look for places where they can really be a lot of play. These creatures have monstrous appetites, but mammals should also be wary of meeting such a predator. At the moment, not a single fatal outcome of a piranha attack on a person has ever been recorded. But who knows? Maybe there was just no one to tell about it. Moreover, sometimes the fish attacks a person, especially if it disturbs the flock. Here's another reason not to go into the Amazon water. Scared? So we're kind of uneasy too. Just promise me that if you go to travel to the Amazon, you will remain as careful as possible. And do not go into the water and do not touch or even approach the local fauna, okay? It may seem that a piranha is a terminator that destroys anything at all and is not afraid of anyone. But you already know the secret of the Amazon, don't you? Monsters live here precisely because each predator has its own dangerous enemy, which forces species to constantly compete, becoming stronger, more dangerous, and scarier. So piranhas also have their own hunter. Moreover, the fish is not going to large shoals. It does not need it. We're talking about the giant Arapaima, one of the largest freshwater fish in the world. Imagine a pike or perch as long as an adult lion. That's what kind of creature we're talking about. The most common Arapaima reaches 7 feet or 2 meters in length, but most larger specimens are often found. For example, it is about 10 feet long, about 3 meters. And according to unconfirmed reports, there are also real giants. A river fish over 14 feet long, over 4.5 meters, and weighing like a small motorcycle. Of course, if piranhas can attack livestock, it is obvious that simple superiority in size will not take this predator. Arapaima has a number of superpowers that make this fish an excellent hunter who feels confident even in this green hell. Of course, aggressive nature, great speed, powerful jaws, all this is in the arsenal of this fish. But the main thing is its armor. It is difficult to find a fish with stronger scales, about 10 times stronger than bone. At the same time, the scaly cover is layered, which creates a kind of natural chainmail of sorts. Arapaima can withstand the assault of a whole flock of piranhas and go on the counterattack, destroying the enemy. Oh yes, that's not all. Arapaima can breathe atmospheric air. Therefore, it likes to hunt in shallow water. Even if she is above water, it'll be able to survive. Probably the opportunity to breathe oxygen dissolved in the air appeared due to the fact that the Arapaima settles in small backwaters where plants and other fish already drink all the oxygen from the water. Arapaima does not have lungs, but there are special tissues that are located in the pharynx and on the swim bladder. An Arapaima floats to the surface every 5 to 20 minutes and takes a breath, the characteristic sound of which can be heard from afar. And to understand that, it is better not to approach this reservoir. It is unlikely that the Arapaima is dangerous to humans, but if it catches even small birds out of the water, who knows? Against the background of many of our other heroes, the Brazilian bird eater will seem like a cutie to you. At least because for an adult and healthy person who does not suffer from allergies, the venom of this spider does not pose an excessive threat. Although, of course, it causes terrible pain. I mean, what can you do without that? In the Amazon basin, everything causes terrible pain. The toxin that the bird eater secretes is not strong enough to stop a person's heart for one reason. It is not intended to protect the spider from predators, but it's for hunting. Such poisons are designed against small animals, on which they should act as quickly as possible. The venom of the bird eater copes with this task perfectly. But the main weapon of this huge spider is geoaggression. He does not weave a web on which he sits for hours and waits for prey. Instead, the bird eater goes out to patrol the surrounding area to actively catch its prey with powerful paws. Some individuals can reach a diameter of almost a foot, 30 centimeters. This makes it one of the largest spider species in the world. They can grow to such gigantic dimensions only in the Amazon, in an area with an extremely high content of oxygen and moisture in the air. These sizes, combined with 8 strong paws and venomous mandibles, allow spider to hunt not only insects, but also to catch small rodents, frogs, lizards, and birds. The bird eater's hunting of birds is probably the most impressive sight associated with this spider. That's why it got its name. But in the Amazon basin, of course, there are spiders that are dangerous to humans. I mean, could it really be otherwise? In fact, there are a lot of them here, and there are dozens of arthropod species that are dangerous to us. But especially it is necessary to tell about a wandering spider. Unlike bird eaters, they do not build a den in burrows or crevices in trees, but they don't weave a big web either. In accordance with their name, these spiders prefer a nomadic lifestyle and constantly walk through the jungle in search of prey. They are not very big, but they have a very dangerous poison. The most amazing thing about these spiders is their generosity. Perhaps there is no other spider in the world that injects as much venom as this one during a bite. The reason for this phenomenon is difficult to understand. On the one hand, the poison of the wandering Amazon spider is twice as toxic as the poison of the black widow. That is, it poses a danger not only to humans, but also, for example, to an elephant. On the other hand, it is resource intensive to produce such a powerful toxin, so the spider has to hunt more often. Well, maybe this predator just loves reliability. Unlike the bird eater, it often crawls into human habitation. It does not attack first, but it is quite easy to provoke an attack. There are hundreds of spider species in Brazil, but this one accounts for 50% of all human bites. The venom of a wandering spider is a neurotoxin that attacks the nervous system, causing terrible pain, attacking the heart, and stopping the work of the lungs. There are a lot of creatures in the waters of the Amazon itself that can be very dangerous, and they themselves sometimes look literally like aliens. For example, a freshwater stingray. Usually, representatives of this family of fish live in the salty waters of the oceans, but the Amazon is quite full-flowing and rich in food, so that millions of years ago, these creatures chose it as a place for their habitat. In general, freshwater stingrays are not aggressive creatures, but they have extremely formidable weapons, which they resort to if they are frightened. And these creatures are very timid. There is simply no other way to survive in these tropical waters. The weapon of this stingray is the spikes that are on its tail. Moreover, the spikes seem to be hiding from the side. They are not at all at the very tip and are placed far enough from the base. Therefore, it is not possible to notice the sting immediately, which makes the weapon even more dangerous. At the same time, its length is like the palm of an adult. The thorn is sharp and strong enough to damage internal organs. And besides that, it's poisonous. The toxin can cause death if ingested by most small and many medium-sized animals. If a thorn injures a person's arm or leg, then they will most likely survive. But terrible pain, cardiac arrhythmia, difficulty breathing, the experience is very unpleasant, but you can survive. However, if the thorn wounds the body, this will be the last trip. The strange-looking fish that live in the Amazon may have more powerful weapons than some kinds of spikes. It is here that the electric eel lives, which generates one of the most powerful charges among all its kind. The eel uses its weapons for hunting and for protection from predators. If a fish is frightened, it generates a charge into the water with the help of special organs that can stop the heart of a large crocodile, cope with a bull or a jaguar. No blue lightning bolts go through the water, and the more terrible the victim of the eel looks. It begins to twitch, her body is pierced by powerful convulsions, and the animal becomes helpless, and eventually its heart just can't stand it. An electric shock from a short circuit of the household network is a rather serious threat that makes you behave carefully with each outlet. The electrical shock of the eel is at least 5 times stronger. The most frightening thing is that, like many other Amazon monsters, this fish does not stop halfway. If she gets into a fight, she is going to the end. Did you mess with the eel? Simply retreating is not enough. They will continue to shock even when the enemy flees. And only then will it definitely finish off the enemy, unless of course it somehow manages to jump out of the water. An eel can strike at a sufficiently large distance. Depending on the environmental conditions, the charge can hit the target at a distance of up to several feet, several meters from the eel. Therefore, this fish is one of the few predators capable of using long-range weapons. To show the coolness of different creatures, they often talk about how they deal with black caimans. These are the local relatives of the crocodile. By the way, do not confuse black caimans with ordinary ones. The former are relatively timid, almost never attack large game, and they themselves do not grow larger than 7 feet, 2 meters. But the black caiman is another matter. This creature can be dangerous to any inhabitant of the Amazon, so the reptile is at the top of the food chain. More precisely, it shares with jaguars and anacondas this spot. So don't think this reptile is a whipping boy. On the contrary, only the most insidious and dangerous animals manage to fight and defeat a huge toothy predator. Usually, a caiman gets what it wants, and it usually wants meat. The length of this fighter can exceed 23 feet, 7 meters, and the weight can reach over a ton. This makes it the largest local predator. It hunts any large animals: deer, capybaras, anacondas, tapirs, catfish. Of course, the black caiman leads a predominantly aquatic lifestyle. The Amazon rainforest is replete with thickets of trees that grow either near the water or directly from it. Shady nooks are an ideal place for an ambush of such a predator. It rushes at the victim from the water, or less often, by land, although such an animal is not capable of a long cross-country hunt. It makes a leap towards several feet, several meters, at lightning speed. Its main weapon is powerful jaws with long fangs. The caiman tears off pieces of meat with the help of powerful lateral movements of its huge, massive head. But the reptile can also strike with its tail or bend it under itself and then only use its teeth. Black scales play an important role. On one hand, it is one of the best natural defenses of reptiles in the whole world. Strong, thick, strong. In addition, its color serves both as a means of disguise and as a way to warm up more effectively. This is important for the cold-blooded reptile, which spends most of its life in the shade and poorly lit places. The jaws of the black caiman are powerful enough to easily hold even a large ungulate weighing several people's. The most amazing thing is that even in such dangerous and difficult conditions, people manage to live there. And we're not talking about ordinary citizens of Brazil, Ecuador, Peru, Colombia, and Bolivia. We're talking about Aboriginal tribes that have been living in the local jungle for thousands of years. This is not a myth, but a reality. Even in the 21st century, impenetrable forests are inhabited by tribes that have practically no connection with modern civilization. Most of them chose isolation intentionally. Their representatives are aware of the existence of other people with their cities, state borders, money, and other newfangled inventions. But such tribes refuse to make any contact. And any aliens' attempts to impose their culture on them are answered with weapons. It would seem that they're ordinary arrows, but if they're soaked in the poison of some local frog, then you should definitely not touch them. However, there is an opinion that there are still such tribes of Aborigines who have never had contact with modern civilization at all and live unknown to anyone in the most impenetrable thickets. Where did they come from there? Humans appeared in America more than 22,000 years ago. Then the eastern coast of Siberia was connected with modern Alaska by land crossing. People from Asia, for some mysterious reasons, ventured on a dangerous journey to America, which was considered an entirely new world. If you want to learn more about human settlement and their interaction with wildlife, let us know in the comments. For hundreds and thousands of years, people have spread across both Americas, and even went into the most impenetrable thickets of the Amazon jungle. That is, the local Aboriginal tribes are direct descendants of those people. Some tribes are gradually assimilating with the citizens of the countries where their historical land is located. Some maintain contact with civilization, but live according to ancient customs. But there are also tribes that absolutely stop any outside contact. How do you think you would react to this? Leave these people alone or not? Let us know in the comment section. On the territory of the Amazon, there are scary animals in the water, on the ground, on trees, and what about the air? Of course there are. Amazonia is one of the habitats of harpies. Due to the fact that these birds maneuver between trees of one of the densest forests of the planet, their wingspan is not the largest among all birds. A condor has a wingspan of up to 10 feet, 3 meters. A golden eagle has a wingspan of 7 feet, more than 2 meters, and harpies have a little less than 7 feet, up to 2 meters. But at the same time, this bird is one of the most massive and largest feathered predators of the modern planet. Her clawed paw is larger than an adult's palm. The powerful blow of such sickle-shaped claws, enhanced by the speed of flight, is no weaker than the blow of a leopard's paw. The harpy's head is almost the same as a human's, only with a sharp beak that could leave a mark on metal. These birds do not attack humans, at least under normal conditions, as we would call them. They don't need to. Instead, they fly between the branches and collect monkeys and sloths like apples. But teasing this bird or approaching its nest is not worth it even for the bald ones from Fast and Furious. From the Wrath of the Harpy, no sports car will help you. Another winged creature here that can be dangerous is the vampire bat. It will not be treated either by a languid man in black or by a teenager glowing in the sun with a lacquered hairstyle and a love for silent girls. And this predator hunts carefully. It tries not to disturb its victim and just rather drink its blood from small, almost imperceptible punctures on its neck. But this vampire bat is dangerous because it carries various diseases in its saliva. And yes, it bites people. The vast biodiversity of the Amazon concerns not only animals, but also plants. And yes, some of them are dangerous too. Fortunately, there is no evidence yet that the local trees have rebelled like Ents. And the vines that strangle people are a myth, at least we hope so. But it is from the Amazon plant that curare poison is isolated, one of the most famous toxins in the world. And the poison, which is secreted by a plant called strychnos, is so strong that its nails are moistened with resin for hand-to-hand combat. Then even a scratch could be fatal for the enemy. All of these are just some of the dangerous species of plants and animals that live in the Amazon forests. In fact, there are even more of them. But it is a mistake to believe that this land generates only monsters that seek to destroy all life in their path. There are many incredible, beautiful representatives of flora and fauna in the Amazon forests. Bright flowers, beautiful birds, cute creatures. Yes, the local animals can look impressively beautiful, such as these predatory ocelot cats with big eyes and spotted coats. In fact, a huge number of dangerous creatures are a consequence of not bad, but good living conditions. It's like a paradox, but good conditions provoke population growth, and hence an increase in the number of dangerous animals. In addition, a lot of herbivores means there will be a lot of predators. This, in turn, causes greater competition between the species, an increase in the number of predators, and a more intense arms race between hunter and prey. And after all of this, do you still really want to visit the Amazon? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. There are still many mysterious and amazing places in the world that we want to tell you about still.